I first got involved when we had a spotting session at Pixar. It was the beginning of a lot of fun with the director. John Lasseter was directly involved as often as he could be. So we had a spotting session with he and the picture editor and a couple of the other folks over at Pixar in their screening room, and we played through it, and we'd go a few feet and he'd stop, right here, I want, this has to be the coolest sound you've ever heard, and then we'd go a few more feet. Okay, right here, and it got us excited early on because he was excited.
The big direction was make it cool and sexy. That's what John just wanted, it just as cool as it could possibly be. And he actually referenced it, go back and look at Casino Royale, look at the most recent Bond movies and the Bourne movies, and that was the style that he was going for.
The way it works is I will come watch the film with him. He and I will sit in a room together and watch the entire movie. And we'll start and stop it, and we'll talk about, okay, well, music maybe should start here, it should end here, and okay, what are we saying musically? What are we talking about? What's going on inside Mater's mind that we need to then, translate to the audience? Because ultimately that's what it's about. It's about taking music and using that as a tool to describe to the audience what a character is thinking or feeling. So it's about getting inside the heads of each of these characters so we do that bit by bit. We just kind of step through, and it takes two days usually to do that. You get through half the film in one day, and then the next time you come up, you get the other half, because you're really talking out all of the issues of the characters. And we're not really talking about music, so to speak, we're just talking about emotions and feelings. And then I'll go back and, with all those ideas in mind, decide kind of how I want to attack that using music as a tool to translate.
So we did a lot of recording out of the spotting session with John. We determined what we needed to record that needed to be new and unique to this film. And there was a list of many new cars. So we had the first cars, and we had all of those original recordings. And a lot of the new cars were varied. Everything from Pacers and Gremlins, 1970s cars, clunkers, to brand new, cool, fancy cars, Aston Martins and Lotus, so many others. And many of the cars we brought out here to Skywalker because we had a controlled environment, and we got some great stuff. Definitely a lot of the personality comes from the exhaust of the car. So we want to make sure, and depending on the design of the car, it's sometimes difficult to get the right angle of the exhaust with a microphone. So we have a few different microphones we use. We use these really tiny DPA lavaliers, which you can zip tie anywhere. And so that's one go-to option. But the other thing we like to do is we like to put a dynamic mic on the exhaust. And then we'd usually put one or two other mics under the hood, which is the other side of the personality of the car. And you try and find something where there's air intake or where there's some kind of unique character about the car that you can reproduce.
When I first saw Cars, the first thing I thought of was, it had a bundle full of energy in this movie. And I remember the film made me think of when I was a kid and I would ride around the neighborhood on my bike, and I had my Walkman, and my dad had this great kind of surf rock album. I don't even know exactly what it was, but it had some Dick Dale on it and it had a bunch of different things. And I used to love riding around the neighborhood listening to that music because it made me feel like I was in the middle of some big conspiracy or some big thing. Because surf music, surf rock is fun, but yet it also has this kind of dark, dangerous edge to it. And the first time I saw Cars 2, I just thought, oh my God, that made me feel like I was, back when I used to do that as a kid. So I had this idea. I thought, well, maybe that should be the style for the film. So I pitched it to John, and John was like really excited about it. And then I played him a theme for it, and he was just like, yes, this is what we're doing. So, and then from there, it was just off to the races. Just went with it full bore.
Well, one of the things that Michael has is an understanding that what the score does and that it serves the story. I mean, he looks at the overall, whereas some composers, everybody thinks about what they do and what that adds, and Michael is sort of more of an overall filmmaker? I mean, aside from a fantastic composer.
We both work in a vacuum. You know, they're off doing their work and I'm off doing my work, and rarely do we get a chance to discuss, hey, in this scene, I'm gonna do this musically. What are you thinking about effects-wise? We don't have the time to do that. So we always just end up meeting on the stage and go, oh, that's what you did, or oh, okay, I see you had a massive explosion, doesn't it? So let me back off here, let me pull out here. And I'm always the first to say, we should lose music from that scene. Let's lose it, let's get rid of it, because, you know, if it's not helping the story, if it's not helping tell the story, or if it creates an atmosphere of confusion because you have too many effects and too much music, I'd much rather just take out the music and have the story be clearer, you know, because ultimately it's all about the storytelling.
It's tricky when your director knows as much or more about every single car that you've recorded as you do, and knows in his head what he wants to hear. So you might have recorded everything about this car, but he knows what he's looking for. And so there would be times where, you know, we have enormous amounts of recordings, but he's looking for that one shift, that one, you know, sort of steady into an Excel.
The fortunate thing with the Pixar movies is that they give you the time and opportunity, and they understand the process. So it was a great, really invigorating process to sit here with John and go through film inch by inch, shot by shot, and figure out, you know, what do we want to convey and what do we want to hear.
The people here at Pixar are pretty much extensions of my neighborhood friends that I had when I was a kid. So I can come up here and feel like I'm literally just running next door and saying, hey, you guys want to come outside? We'll make a movie, we'll do this and this, and I'll, you know, tie firecrackers to you and we'll do all this crazy stuff. You know, I mean, that's what I feel like when I'm working up here, because everyone here kind of comes from a similar background of this love of both filmmaking and animation and storytelling. So we're all being, you know, it's like running outside and playing in the yard together. And that's a great feeling. I love that.
As busy as this film was, and it was a lot of work, it was really rewarding because the filmmaker was so excited about sound. And that generates so much energy to the rest of us. It could be the best film in the world, but if the people you're working with aren't as excited as you are, or aren't as compatible, it's a challenge. And fortunately here we are all good friends, and you know, right, and with the Pixar folks as well, we all really enjoy working with each other and coming to work every morning. It's nice to be excited about what you're going to do that day.